For more now, we're going to turn to Marc Mealy for additional insight and analysis. He's the Vice President of Policy at the US-ASEAN Business Council. Welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Let's talk about Chinese Premier Li Keqiang and his plan, his six-point plan, that is, for lasting peace and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region. Let's talk about China's influence, Mark, in the region and the importance of Beijing's cooperation with the member states.
Sure. I think, we're meeting obviously in Kuala Lumpur right now at a very key time, following on the G20 meetings, the APEC summit meetings, and these ASEAN meetings, which really allow all the major players in the Asia-Pacific, the United States, China, to really come together and really explore key strategic issues around economics, politics, diplomacy, as well as security. Obviously, for the ASEAN countries, China is a major economic partner, a major source of investment, just like Japan is, the United States, the EU. So if there are objectives, which is always generally how do we promote more trade, more growth in the region, these are the opportunities for the leaders to really sit down and perhaps hash out potentially challenging questions.
The U.S. is strengthening ties with ASEAN and has just, as a group, unveiled a plan to create a code of conduct for the South China Sea. China has stood firm in its sovereignty all along. But do you believe this code, which has really been in the works for, 15 years now?
It has been, yeah.
Will really resolve these disputes?
I think that the hope is that a code of conduct would allow for processes to try to move the agenda forward and find some common grounds or some common positions on these issues. There's an economic dimension to this, because when you do have overlapping claims questions among certain countries, some of these areas also represent important sea resources, important perhaps even energy resources. And if you have these claims that are or disputes, the opportunity to sort of develop those resources for the entire region are really not possible. So I think that's the motivating or the hope why we hope a code of conduct can help make sure that tensions remain at a calm level.
ASEAN countries like Singapore have been vocal about the maritime issues, and these nations do not want the regional tensions to overshadow the work that is supposed to be done there. They don't want it to be neglected.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, this is an important time for ASEAN. As a region, these 10 countries are going to be launching an ASEAN economic community later this year. They really want to focus on the regional economic integration agenda. They want to try to maintain ASEAN's kind of central role in the Asia-Pacific region as the architectures around investment and trade all kind of evolve. So these are the things that ASEAN really wants to focus on. And when you think about it from their point of view, they really want balance. They want a balanced set of relations with China, with the United States, with Japan. They don't want to see any potential sort of zero-sum game kind of politics. I think that's the general view. Obviously, individual countries do also, though, have their own individual interests or concerns they want to focus on.
We've been seeing the impact of these recent terrorist attacks at the meeting, obviously heightened security there. What can these member countries do to fight back?
Well, I think there's a really important opportunity for countries in Southeast Asia, like Indonesia or Malaysia, which are very large Muslim populations, to really perhaps project that voice of moderation and the ability to kind of really promote the notion of a modernity of relations between people of Islamic faith and all other faiths in the world. I think that's what we saw with the Malaysian Prime Minister announcing that Malaysia, for example, will play a role as a sort of a communication center for trying to promote a global sense around what Islam is really about, as opposed to perhaps more extremist kinds of views that some are using in other parts of the world.
Marc Mealy, we really appreciate your time. Vice President of Policy at the US-ASEAN Business Council. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.